Good morning, folks. How are we doing? I think we are recording good. My name is Scott. That down there is Bo. Today is the 19th day of April 18th day of April 2022. It's early in the morning on a Monday. Hope you guys had a good Easter, a nice Easter weekend. Old Coach Red Pill. I was supposed to this weekend go out and get a old ball cap, a faded old ball cap, so I could do my tribute to Coach Red Pill. I'm going to coach you up, turn boys into men's, teach you some life lessons. Old Coach Red Pill, otherwise known as Gonzalo Lira, is missing. He's in Kharkiv or Kharkiv, however it's spelled, depending on where you are, I guess. Supposedly, is where he's been this whole time, doing a bunch of interviews and telling people what was really going on in Ukraine. And now, poof. He hasn't been heard from by the interwebs since about Thursday. And folks are all upset. He was supposed to do an interview today with George Galloway. George Galloway has announced that he hasn't heard from him. He's supposed to talk to him Friday about it. He's the hottest thing in the Ukrainian-Russian conflict alt media sphere. And his followers on YouTube and whatever others he has, Instagram, whatever others, has doubled in size since this whole thing kicked off. I mentioned him the other day. I said he's doing some good stuff. He's putting out some good information. At the time, and that was February 27th, he was talking about the situation in Ukraine and that old ball coach kind of way of his, that delivery of his, even though he was never a coach of anybody. However, he was talking in that kind of t-shirt, ball cap, glasses. He was talking in that manner of his, explaining to people what was really going on there. He never once mentioned, at least at that point in time, why Russia had to get involved and how they were baited into the conflict to start with by the United States, having Ukraine increase the shelling in Lugansk and Donbass region, the separatist republics. He never talked about that. It was all about NATO and some other dumb shit. Then he also said that what Russia was trying to do is install a puppet regime in Kiev. So I took exception to that. And a couple of other things. That's entirely false. And a couple of other things that he said. However, from what I understand, his message has become not only more nuanced, but also more accurate. In the last couple of weeks, since February 27th when I made this video. And I certainly do not wish any harm on him. We're going to talk about what's happening over there in a few seconds. But first, let's explain to you, let's just go and tell you right off the bat, you got people like this guy in the Max Blumenthal network. And of course, Gonzalo's been integrated into that network as well, sucked into that sphere of existence as well. This is Jackson Hinkle talking about Gonzalo Lira has gone missing in Kharkiv. Some call it Kharkiv, some call it Kharkiv. I don't know what it is. Maybe you guys do. I don't. Anyway, this is one of the things he had to say. After breathlessly talking about the fact that Well, in this part of the video, he shows somebody's Instagram message. And the Instagram message says that it couldn't possibly be that they can't communicate with him because of the internet being out. Because according to this thing he read from one person on Instagram that may or may not even be there, his claim is that I is just fine. I, meaning short for internet, is just fine in Kharkiv, because other people have posted stuff from Kharkiv, as if there's one internet for the entire city, and if it goes down for one person, it has to go down for the entire fucking city. Every neighborhood. Every router. And as we know, that's bullshit. Jackson doesn't seem to understand that. And then he goes on with this.
Messages and stuff, but there's not a whole lot I can do other than just hope for the best, and we'll continue to I'll update you guys as soon as I hear anything, but that's a really scary story, and I hope he's all right. He's doing great work out there, and it's very dangerous, and these Nazis, they don't care.
These Nazis, they don't care. Wait, he goes on.
They have no regard for human life. They have no regard for civilians. They have no regard for grandmothers.
Nazis. They don't have regard for grandmothers. What's more evil than that? They have no regard. What part of the word Nazi does Jackson Hinkle not understand? Seriously, I'm asking. What part does he not understand? What part doesn't he get? We're not talking about, people being called Nazi because they believe in the Second Amendment and the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. We're not talking about people being called Nazi because they voted the wrong way. We're not talking about people being called Nazi because, the FBI decided to stage some little bullshit thing on the 1st or the 6th day of January last year. We're not talking about that kind of Nazi. We're talking about real motherfucking Nazis. Real Nazis. Doing real Nazi shit to people in Ukraine. So what part of that don't you understand? Why are you shocked? Why is anybody shocked? If, in fact, this is what happened. Now, let me just toss this out there real quick. Obviously, I certainly hope that he is unharmed. And that, I don't know, maybe that's Kiev and Kharkiv or Kharkiv, depending on how you fucking pronounce it. That's the conflict map. And that's yesterday. And yes, those bombs are where shells hit. In and around the city in which he supposedly lives. Very possible that something is taken out in communications, the internet and the interwebs, in at least part of the city, if not the whole city. Because again, we don't know anything about that Instagram account that said, yeah, there's been people sending fucking stuff from Kharkiv, whatever. So that's the first thing. Certainly hope he's fine. But you can imagine in a situation in a city that's being hit like that, a shelled like that, and that's yesterday. Who knows what's happening today? Entirely possible. Electricity is out. Maybe his internet is still up, but his electricity is out. And his cell phone isn't charged. There's all kinds of shit that could explain, rather than going immediately to the grandma killing Nazis. have Coach Red Pill. That's the first thing. Look how fucking distressed he is. That's because emotion on the internet, emotion on YouTube drives fucking viewership up. Get you money. Get you attention. Look at him. It's like he's been crying all night. He's been weeping all night for Coach Red Pill. That's the thing. I mean, who knows what has actually happened over there and what's happening over there. I certainly hope for the best for the individual, but I also want to say this. Scott, don't shit on the guy. He's been taken by the Nazis. I also want to say this. I told you when I first fucking heard about the dude, and I did my first video on him. I told you that, the whole Coach Red Pill thing, he was never a coach. He actually wrote for Business Insider. And I just used a Business Insider, that fucking rag, that establishment fucking rag. He wrote for them back in the day. He also wrote for Zero Hedge. He was part of that fucking intelligence operation. He graduated high school at St. George's in Chile in 1985. He then entered college in 1991. What did he do from high school to college? He went to Dartmouth. Went from St. George to Dartmouth. If you don't know what St. George is in Chile, then he went to Dartmouth. What was he doing for those 6 years between 1985 and 1991? I wonder. And why isn't it part of his resume? I wonder. Now this is from, this is just Euronews talking about the areas in Kharkiv, or Kharkiv, however you want to pronounce it. Rockets hitting the streets and the cities and the buildings. Of course, most of them are probably Ukrainian. Let's talk about this from Daily Beast. Yes, it's Daily Beast. And no, they don't like anybody talking bad about the glorious fucking Zelensky. However, they do talk about how he is a sleazy American dating coach. Became a pro-Putin shill in Ukraine. Did a star turn. Always with his ball cap on. Now, I want you to keep this image in mind. Apparently, he is Coach Red Pill. I told you, anybody who says Red Pill, douchebag. Turns out, he has some very interesting ideas about the relationship between men and women. And at one point, according to this, and it's in quotes, so now you can say it's Daily Beast, so they lie. But I don't think they would put it in quotes as if it was coming from him, to quote him directly and provide links, if he didn't say it. And then you can say, well, they took it out of context. There's no context in which this can be said that is good. Unless, of course, he was acting. Which, of course, they didn't. He's not acting. He goes on this thing, manosphere thing, websites, which apparently is a thing. Men are so fucking downtrodden now, we have to go to spheres someplace and echo chambers and talk about how beat down we are. And he says things about dating and life. He's a coach. He's going to coach you up on the manosphere. This is literally what he was doing when the fucking Ukraine thing broke out. Okay? He's coaching people up, telling them, first of all, in terms of dating, he's 53-ish. 53, 54. He's talking about in terms of dating, he says, don't date women in their 30s. All they want to do is get pregnant and get a house and get married and get settled down because that's their biology. And if they aren't married with children by their 30s, according to him, they were partying and living it up with the best looking 15% of men. And they wasted a decade of their biological clocks. And now they're in a big rush to get pregnant, get knocked up by that, is his mindset. So he doesn't want to date women in their 30s. Listen. Don't know, don't care. Don't know, don't care. Yes, there are some different views in terms of men and women. He also states that the red-pilled are in trouble in their corporate employers by the human rights people who, according to him, were all fucking sluts in high school and college, women who end up going into human resources, according to him. He seems to have skewed opinions towards women. Which, okay, that's fine. No one gives a shit. However, character matters. Go back to what I said about someone who uses the term red pill. Not only does he go by the name Coach Red Pill, but he also uses it in his everyday fucking life, chatting with folks over in the manosphere. Douchebag. And his obvious opinions towards women would seem to confirm my opinion about people who use the term red pill. Now, you can say, well, Scott, they could be lying. Yes, they could be lying, which I doubt they were because they put it in quotation marks. You can say, well, Scott, if they're not lying, they're taking it out of context. There's not any way to take those kind of statements about women in their 30s looking to latch on to you and get pregnant and basically gold dig just because they're in their 30s. There's no way to take that out of context. He said it, he said it. He wrote it. And then the last way you can look at that and say, Scott, well, you know, he's at manosphere. So he's just fucking playing a role like Alex Jones does to get people to build an audience, to build a following on manosphere. Okay, fine. That's the best argument you got so far. And I'll give you that. However, what does that tell you about his coverage in Ukraine? What's the implication there? Oh, he'll exaggerate and he'll play a role and he'll lie when he's in the manosphere, but he won't in Ukraine to do the same fucking thing? Douchebag. Now, all that said, this guy, I just featured him talking about the other thing yesterday, and he was reasonable. This guy says some bullshit. I didn't realize that old Just a Lazy Gamer here is such a fucking Zelensky fan. Didn't realize that. He really doesn't like Gonzalo Lira. Again, I don't mind him. He did some, I was talking about that video, that guy showed up. He's done some good stuff. Here you go. Here's his old pictures. This talks about his history and his bio. St. George's in Santiago, Chile, to Dartmouth, 1991, graduating with honors in 95, but he graduated high school in 19 85. So between 85 and 91, who knows what he did. He wrote a novel. They call him a novelist and filmmaker. Novelist and filmmaker. He's written 2 novels, a thing in Spanish language, which I don't think qualifies as a novel, but he's written 2 novels here in the United States, or wherever he was in English language novels. He's a novelist. They didn't really sell, and apparently on Google, they don't have any, I can't find it. Where is it? I don't think I still have it up. My bad. It's called, what is it called? Counterparts. It's about a badass woman CIA agent and some guy on the skids agent. It's a spy novel. And apparently it's, who knows. And the other one he wrote is the prequel to it. And that came out in 2002. Counterparts was 1997, and the other one was 2002-ish. So, my mother wrote 2 novels. I never referred to her as an American novelist. She wrote 2 novels. They also call him a filmmaker. What his film was? It was some stupid little short thing called So Kinky. And he wrote and produced and directed a comedic film called So Kinky. There's not even a link to it. That's what makes him a filmmaker. I'm more of a filmmaker than he is. Put together the thousands upon thousands of videos and hours that I've done, I'm more of a filmmaker than he is. I said he worked on a video game called Soldier of Fortune. Where does he... His spy novels, his video game Soldier of Fortune, he wasn't his, he just worked on it. Why does he have these links to spies, military? Why does he have these links? What was he really doing in Ukraine to start with? Curious. Here you go. In 2010, Lear began contributing economic analysis to Zero Hedge, Naked Capitalism, and Business Insider. Economic analysis. I don't know if that means that he wrote articles for them or he was working with the intelligence agency that runs fucking Zero Hedge. Because we all know Zero Hedge is a fucking intelligence agency. Period. And of course, I just told you about Business Insider. And I just did a video the other day talking about some bullshit Business Insider came up with. And what those assholes are. So he doesn't have the best background. But there he is. This is a picture of him when he was younger. Maybe somebody would have wanted, a 30-year-old would have wanted to hook up with this guy back in those days. But I'm guessing not so much now. If you had to ask me, I don't know. I'm no catch myself. Anyway, I certainly hope that he is doing all right. And I guess this is the point. If I'm going to coach you up, I'm going to coach you up. I don't have the old ball cap, but I'll get me one. An old ball cap. Get out there. Rub some dirt on it and get back out there. Let me tell you something. Boys, these here are Nazis. They're not fucking around. And they really don't like grandmothers. To him and to anybody else over there. The other guy I talked about running around doing the videos, I talked to him, sent me a link to him as well. The internet didn't exist back when the Nazis were occupying Eastern Europe. The internet didn't exist when the Nazis ran Germany. But there were means of communication, but people had to be very careful. There were underground means by which to get people out. There was a resistance. People did try to push back against what was happening in their country. However, they did so on the down low, so to speak. They were not advertising on YouTube and out there talking openly in front of a camera for internet clout. It is important that people have an understanding and have information out there, but to put your face in front of a fucking camera and talk about these things, if you are in fact in Kharkiv or Kharkov or however it's pronounced, to put your face in front of a fucking camera and talk about these things openly, and talk about what the Nazis are doing, and talking about what the far right's doing, and talking about the fact that they're blowing people up and they're killing their own folks, so they can blame the dreaded Ruskies for it, with your face in front of the camera. My thing is this. Courage or a lack of comprehension? Because the same message can be gotten out there with your voice and the camera focused on what's happening as opposed to you. Do you understand? It doesn't have to come through your name. It doesn't have to be associated with your face. Because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Nazis watch YouTube as well. So, I certainly hope that this individual is fine, that he has found a 40-year-old or a 20-year-old to spend Easter weekend with, and that's really the size of it. I hope he has maybe decided to go to Chile and he's in transit or get out because he came to the realization that Nazis watch YouTube as well and it's the safest thing for him to do. I certainly hope that is the case. I certainly do not wish any ill on this guy. Like I said before, though he is off a little bit to start with, just like I was, everybody is. He's come along and he's done some good work and he's done some good reporting. So he's gotten some good messaging out there to people and at a time when it's necessary. All I'm saying is, in a situation like that, your identity isn't necessary. Take a lesson, from the anonymous Nazi resistance of the past. Because not only do they not give a shit about grandmothers, they don't give a shit about fucking reporters either, or 52-year-old, 53-year-old men. They don't give a shit about anybody other than other Nazis. Bandera and Adolf and Goebbels. And Klaus. Got my fingers crossed for him. I hope he pops up soon. I really do. And there you go. But I will get myself an old ball cap. Apparently it works. You guys take care.